The basis of Vipassana meditation is samadhi, a meditative state free of thoughts and concepts. Its main quality is that it cuts through all the misconceptions, inaccuracies, and misunderstandings we may have. The text says that it is necessary to have the view of non-self. Without it, we cannot develop genuine Vipassana. To develop Vipassana, we must first have the correct understanding and view. Therefore, we need to understand the absence of self. The text states that if we don't understand what the meditation should be directed at, we are like a person without arms trying to hold onto the side of a cliff. So, the basis of meditation is a definite understanding of non-self. Hence, we need to listen to and reflect on the insight of non-self. We should first recognize this and then contemplate it until we have a definite understanding of non-self. After developing this understanding, the mind must be able to abide in it, relaxed and completely unagitated. If we have the view, but only think about it intellectually, we will not be able to properly develop meditation because we cannot eliminate various obscurations. Hence, the text says that even if we are learned and have understood the view of non-self, without meditating on it, we are like a miser with great wealth who cannot use any of it due to his stinginess. Not only is the miser's wealth useless to him, but it is also useless to others because he doesn't give it to anyone. Similarly, if we have the understanding and view of non-self but do not meditate on it, we will not gain any benefit because we cannot develop wisdom or eliminate afflictions. We also cannot benefit others because we cannot follow the path and attain enlightenment. This means we cannot realize selflessness and therefore cannot eliminate afflictions. It remains merely analytical knowledge, which is of little use. To summarize, developing the view of non-self requires meditation. First, study the teachings of non-self, then analyze and contemplate them until a definite understanding arises. After that, focus on this view in a completely relaxed state. This resting is like the union of mental stability and insight. First, one needs meditative concentration with a serene, focused mind, free from wandering thoughts and attachments. The mind is in a deeply tranquil state. This is mental stability. Then, focus the mind on the insight of non-self. This is the union of samatha and vipassana. One must balance the analytical meditation that develops clarity of mind with the stability of mind. Too much analytic meditation weakens stability, so one must relax the mind in non-analytic meditation. However, too much non-analytic meditation diminishes clarity of mind, leading to dullness. So, one needs to do analytic meditation to restore balance. Developing both clarity and stability makes the mind very powerful. It is essential to combine these two kinds of meditation. Generally, the main practice of all the Tibetan schools is to first analyze phenomena repeatedly to gain an understanding of the view, and then rest the mind in non-analytic meditation. This is true not only in Tibet, but in all traditions. This is how Shakyamuni Buddha taught. Why did the Buddha teach for 49 years? It was to explain and analyze the truths clearly for us. Have you read the Surangama Sutra? At the beginning, it presents the sevenfold investigation of the mind, analyzing where the mind is. Analyze phenomena repeatedly to gain an understanding of the view. The Buddha taught continuously, explaining from basic to profound, and from profound to basic, helping us understand and discern thoroughly. Then, rest the mind in non-analytic meditation. After thoroughly understanding the true nature of things and developing a firm understanding, one can abide in non-analytic meditation. Emptiness is the essence of the Dharma because it is the way we eliminate all the mind poisons, greed, anger, ignorance, and faults. So, selflessness and emptiness are very important. However, emptiness can become an obstacle to our understanding of karma and the practice of virtuous actions, because one may think, everything is empty, nothing exists, so I don't need to practice the Dharma. Thus, there is danger in the teachings on emptiness. Without the foundation of basic teachings, discussing emptiness and clinging to it can lead to such problems as denying karma. Nagarjuna said that we must understand emptiness correctly, otherwise it will have bad effects. In India, siddhas would pick up poisonous snakes. Through the power of their mantras, they could perform miracles and increase prosperity by holding the snakes. Without the power of meditation and mantra, anyone who grasped a venomous snake would be bitten. Similarly, if we have a good understanding of emptiness, it supports the development of meditation. But if we misunderstand emptiness and think there is no need to perform virtuous actions, it becomes an obstacle to Dharma practice. It is like a cliff a lion can leap over, but a rabbit cannot. So don't imitate. A rabbit's barking is useless, whereas a lion's roar is different. We can take our time to practice. When our capacity is limited, we should gradually develop it. It is impossible to imitate enlightened beings directly. The same applies to understanding emptiness. Without the foundation of merit accumulation and obstacle purification, and without a firm, correct understanding of karma, directly studying the wisdom of emptiness is dangerous. In Dharma practice, one needs to accumulate both merit and wisdom. Merit supports samatha, and wisdom supports vipassana. Those with merit can meditate. Those lacking merit cannot sit still. Without merit, the mind cannot settle, making it impossible to enter concentration. Without wisdom, one cannot practice vipassana. Merit accumulated with a pure motivation can also support the development of wisdom. This point is important. Pure motivation refers to bodhicitta or renunciation. One method for accumulating merit is to develop faith in sublime objects, such as images of the Buddha, the Guru, and sutras, and then make prayers, prostrations, and offerings to them. Sometimes meditation becomes very clear and progresses smoothly, and sometimes it does not. At such times, one must accumulate merit with wisdom. Thus, one develops faith and devotion, makes offerings, prostrations, and prayers to sublime objects, and practices whatever good actions one can to accumulate merit, a state of wholesome karma. Through this, one can increase the accumulation of wisdom. This passage discusses the cultivation of merit and wisdom, which enhance each other. It doesn't refer to worldly merit, but to the accumulation of merit driven by bodhicitta, such as generosity, moral discipline, and patience, which can support the development of wisdom. On the other hand, having some wisdom can make the mind clearer and enhance bodhicitta, bringing it closer to genuine bodhicitta. These two qualities nurture each other. This state is the union of samatha and vipassana, the combination of concentration and wisdom. Concentration arises from samatha, and wisdom arises from vipassana. This is how it works. Wisdom does not arise from concentration. There is another approach from the Ganden monastery of the Gelug tradition. In this tradition, even while resting in meditation, one recalls the knowledge of egolessness and maintains it by repeatedly thinking, this is like this, that is like that, and so on, bringing up the teachings again and again. It means that during meditation, even in the first dhyana, one can still conduct examination and analysis. When resting in meditation, one recalls the knowledge of egolessness and repeatedly thinks, this is like this. This means that even if one understands non-self, one still needs to reflect on it again and again. This is what applying the correct mental mode means. In meditation, contemplate, this is like this, and that is like that. Repeatedly recall the teachings to strengthen the understanding. This is applying mental effort. In meditation, we should continually train the mind with the correct understanding and view. It doesn't mean simply thinking of non-self and then entering some concentration muddlingly. In that case, one lacks awareness, yet believes one has entered meditative absorption, but actually one hasn't. During meditation, we need to repeatedly bring up and reflect on the correct view of selflessness, activating it continually. Do you practice in this way? If not, you may quickly forget your meditation topic. After meditating for a while, you might feel selfless, but soon the right view of non-self vanishes. Then you might become drowsy or distracted, stuck in a meditative state, blankness, bliss, or brightness, forgetting the object you are supposed to meditate on. This occurs because the object of vipassana is abstract, such as the insight of non-self, which is not as easy to focus on as a specific object. Even when focusing on the breath, the mind often slips away. When the right view of non-self fades, we should repeatedly recall it and abide in it. The moment the mind wanders from the meditation topic, we should immediately bring it back. Sometimes, after losing the correct view of selflessness for a long time, we remain unaware. This is unacceptable, equivalent to not engaging in meditation. When the right view of non-self disappears, merely sitting there is a waste of time. In such a state, the mind is semi-dull, or is habituating to subtle deluded thoughts. One cannot perceive many subtle wandering thoughts or recognize the distraction. The deluded mind is very subtle, and we cannot detect it, nor can we notice slight drowsiness. This is an essential instruction. If you don't grasp it, you may delay your spiritual progress for a long time, years or even a lifetime. Some people think they are practicing throughout their lives, but in reality, they are dozing or semi-dozing, immersed in subtle deluded thoughts, never truly applying effort. Do you realize this? You may have some knowledge and have practiced analytical meditation. However, without engaging in non-analytic meditation, you cannot attain realization. You will remain stuck at the earlier stage. This is a crucial pith instruction. Without a teacher's guidance, you cannot grasp it. Could you? Do you know how to practice? If you did, you would have attained accomplishments long ago. This is a priceless pith instruction. This teaching is essential, so don't underestimate it. This is about applying the correct mental mode during meditation. Usually, we only reflect on the teachings with a distracted mind, for example, in class. We need to apply the correct mental mode during meditation. This is so powerful that it can swiftly lead to the realization of selflessness. In the selfless state, your mind is empty, free from the notion of I. When afflictions arise, mine cannot stir your mind because all objects you perceive are not yours. The previous sense of mine disappears. Thoughts like this is mine or that is mine all vanish. Once the notion of I is uprooted, all mine have no owner. You no longer cling to what you once regarded as yours, including the 5 aggregates. The 5 aggregates are not the self. There is no self in them. Once mine has no owner, you will not be so attached to it, and counteracting affliction becomes easier. At that time, you will truly regard afflictions as the enemy. Previously, afflictions were your mental factors, dominating you. They dwelled in your mind, and you regarded them as yours. As long as the sense of self is present, you feel that afflictions are normal. Once the self vanishes, afflictions have no owner. They become your enemy. You recognize them as the enemy of afflictions. Every day we speak of afflictions, confronting them as enemies. We call all faults, such as attachment and anger, enemies of afflictions. As the prayer says, subduing all enemies of afflictions. This is very important, and you need to know how to apply it. If you can apply it, you will progress swiftly. Using the correct mental mode in meditation allows you to deal with afflictions and wrong views quickly, not just resting the mind. If you can abide in the right view, that is certainly ideal. However, when the correct view fades, you need to recall it. As you no longer need to analyze it, just bring it to mind. Continuously activate the correct mental mode, then abide in the selfless state. If you don't bring it up, you are likely to forget it. Just as when initially focusing on the breath, the mind may slip away after a while, so too when first reflecting on selflessness, we are prone to drifting. This happens because we are not yet accustomed to it, and our concentration is insufficient. Therefore, we need to bring it back repeatedly. However, even if one can enter concentration without wandering, one may not be able to enter the union of samatha and vipassana. Suppose someone is accustomed to watching the breath and can easily enter concentration that way. When they meditate on non-self, after briefly activating this mindfulness, they may return to dwelling on the breath. They tend to shift their object of attention because they are used to comfortably watching the breath and entering that meditative absorption. While meditating on non-self, they may switch to watching the breath or enter other meditative states. This reflects non-Buddhist habits, feeling extremely comfortable and enjoying meditative bliss while sitting. It is easy to go astray like this. From my own experience, I know that while sitting, one may feel exceedingly comfortable because of the wonderful states of blankness, bliss, and brightness. It is easy to become attached to the bliss of meditation. We must activate and apply the correct view of non-self. Otherwise, we are prone to reverting to a dull, ignorant state. Without the right view of non-self, it is easy to fall into ignorance. Even when meditative bliss arises, the notion of self remains. At that point, self-grasping reappears, which is mistaken. A state with a self is contrary to the truth. The self-grasping of ordinary beings is so strong that the moment you stop applying the correct mental mode, it re-emerges like a spring. Without mindfulness, you revert to a state with a self. You must stretch the spring until it breaks or deforms so it cannot recover. Then, your meditation on non-self succeeds. Self-grasping is extremely powerful. The moment mindfulness is absent, self-grasping appears, and you start clinging to I and mine, creating karma. Therefore, we should practice in this way. This is genuinely applying effort. Merely talking about insight is useless. Why do we pause here and emphasize it repeatedly? Because this is a crucial point in our practice. During meditation, we must train the mind with the correct understanding and view. Currently, this is the most practical view we can meditate on. As for more profound views, can you reflect on them? If you can apply them to counteract afflictions, that is good. If you can directly realize the selflessness of phenomena, that is even better. Being able to counteract clinging to phenomena is also fine, but I recommend you first deal with attachment to self and persons because it is deeply ingrained. This is the easiest meditation on wisdom. Try it first. More advanced levels, such as meditating on the selflessness of phenomena or realizing the nature of the mind, are more difficult. Merely talking about wisdom is useless. Without practice, speaking of it is futile.